Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Big CJ and welcome back. Today we have another video and this is going to be about the flower cups. Yes, I'm very excited. I did the mushroom cup video and I didn't know how it was going to do, and surprisingly it did extremely well. I was already planning to do the flower cup anyways, but now I'm really excited to do the flower cup because now I know that you guys really like the mushroom cup. Hey, maybe you might like that flower cup. These videos are really fun to make and I enjoy making them a lot. And I hope you guys enjoy watching them too. I put a lot of work and time into these videos. And I just want to say I appreciate you guys for watching them. I appreciate everyone that has subscribed, everyone that's commented, tell me anything you guys thought. I just want to say thank you for that. But yeah, we're going to get through it today. We're going to go from the games of Super Mario Kart all the way to Mario Kart 8, number 8 to number 1. We're going to find out which is my favorite, in my personal opinion, flower cup to my least favorite. Anyways, guys, first off, if you haven't already and you do like seeing this content, consider subscribe. And obviously, if you have a different opinion and you want to let me know, comment down below. I would love to hear you guys' opinions. I always read them. Love to hear what you guys are thinking. And yeah, so you guys ready? Here we go. Alrighty, coming in at number 8 for the flower cup is going to once again be Super Mario Kart. Super Mario Kart was last place on the mushroom cup, and let's just say, no, it did not get much better on the flower cup. In fact, I actually would say it kind of got worse. It's really bad, I'm not going to lie. Super Mario Kart is a really bad game compared to everything else. It was good at the time, but it's very outdated and has a lot of outdated stuff about it, and so it easily just makes it number 8. Let's go over the tracks. Alrighty, the first track is going to be Choco Island 1. Now, Choco Island is honestly really bad. Choco Island is ugly, disgusting. Oh, it's really bad. First off, it doesn't even really look like chocolate or choco or whatever the goal of this map was. It's very dirt-like, ugly-like, and just terrible looking. The bumps are absolutely terrible. The mud sucks. About almost everything sucks about this map. I will say the track layout isn't terrible, so I'm not going to give it a 1 out of 10 because of it. But it is pretty bad, so overall, I'm going to give this one a 2 out of 10. Alright, the second track for this flower cup is going to be Ghost Valley 2. Now, if you've seen this, you probably have seen it from the Wii. Not really much of an upgrade compared to the first one. The first one was on the Mushroom Cup, and I gave that one a 2 out of 10. This one isn't really that much of an upgrade. I will say it's more difficult, so I'll give it that. But it is still kind of the same track itself. It's kind of boring. It isn't terrible. It just isn't outstanding. There's nothing too great about it. It's just harder. That's really the only difference to it. The shortcuts are very risky. The boost at the end really sucks. It's pretty easy to fall. So overall, not really much to say with this one either. I'm also going to give this one a 2 out of 10. Alrighty, the third track in the flower cup for Super Mario Kart is Donut Plains 2, and I will say Donut Plains 2 is actually not bad itself. There was the first one, and I gave the first one a 3 out of 10. This is another one that I feel like it's not too bad. Now, I'm not gonna say it's a good track. It's not really. It's definitely below average. I will say though, it does have a lot more difficulty to it. There's the Monty Moles, there's the tight turns, and it does become a little difficult at points. But overall, track-wise, it isn't too bad, especially for Super Mario Kart. So I gave this one a 3 out of 10 as well. Alrighty, the fourth track in the flower cup for Super Mario Kart is going to be Bowser Castle 2. Now, if you're wondering why none of these tracks in Super Mario Kart have been a 1 out of 10, this is one of the reasons why. This is absolutely one of, if not the worst tracks in Mario Kart history. Not just this game, Mario Kart history. This track is so bad, and I have a lot to talk about here. Let's go over this real quick. The poor layout, the poor track design, just everything about this track is terrible. The turns are kind of whatever, but there's some terrible spots. There's the thwomps that were weirdly placed. There's these awkward turns. There's one turn that's so bad that it's considered a dead end in the game. A dead end. It's not a shortcut, it's literally just a dead end with nothing on it. There's a turn with 2 directions to pick, but it's built like a square, so you have to go around one or the other and you're gonna hit a wall. The boosts at the end are kind of bad because if you hit the wall, that even though it's 2D, you fall. Anyways, there's just a lot bad with this track. This one was a lot more to go over, so I'm giving this one a 1 out of 10. It is absolutely one of the worst tracks in Mario Kart history, and it deserves to be here. Alrighty, and the 5th and final track for Super Mario Kart's Flower Cup is Mario Circuit 3. This is the only game, once again, that has 5 tracks, so be aware there's going to be 4 tracks in every other one. This one has 5. Mario Circuit 3 is alright. It's been remade multiple times. I will say in the Super Mario Kart version, it actually isn't bad, especially when you compare it to all the other tracks. It's a terrible track in most other games, poorly looked. When you look at this game, this is actually one of the better tracks. Mario Circuit 3's got a nice racing layout. There's a tight turn in the middle, but it's actually like designed and it looks good when you make the turn. Overall, it's not my favorite Mario circuit. It's alright. I wouldn't say it's high, it's still below average, but it's not bad. So I gave this one a 3 out of 10 as well. Now that concludes all the Flower Cup tracks, and overall I gave the ranking of this game a 2.2 out of 10. It actually dropped from Mushroom Cups. I gave that one a 2.8 out of 10. It's just a weaker cup, I'm going to be honest. There's 2 ratings of 3, 2 that have 2, and 1 that has a rating of 1. Bowser Castle 2 really dropped this one down. It's really bad, but also there wasn't a track as good as Mario Circuit 2. So for that, I gave this one a 2.2 out of 10, and is also 8th place in the Flower Cup ranking. So let's get on to number 7. Alrighty, coming in at number 7 is going to be Mario Kart 64. Yes, I know. No, I am not glazing Mario Kart 64. I promise you that's actually my favorite for the Mushroom Cup. This one, though, it's a lot lower. I promise you. Flower Cup and this game is not really that great, to be honest with you. The Mushroom Cup was actually really impressive. There was 2 really good tracks I loved in it, where this cup was kind of just, I guess, mid, maybe a little below average, if I say so myself. We went from number 1 to number 7, so if that says anything, there you go. So, let's go over the tracks. Alrighty, the first track we have in the Flower Cup is going to be Toad's Turnpike, and if I say so myself, this is actually not a bad track. This track is very decent. I love the cars in this track and the traffic that they did. Nowadays, we don't really see the traffic is like that great, especially the Mario Kart 8 remake. It's not a good remake. I don't like Toad's Turnpike's remake, but this version is actually kind of cool because the turns are very tight and it works in this environment, especially that this game doesn't bring out a whole lot. So it's like when you have the traffic, it's kind of cool. So for that, I am going to give this one a 5 out of 10. Middle of the pack, not terrible, not great. So that's the first track. Let's go on to the next one. Alrighty, the second track we have is going to be Frappe Snowland for Flower Cup. This track is incredibly boring, I'm not going to lie. There's some snow tracks, and there's some good ones here that are alright. There's a Mount Wario, some others there too. But this one to me is one of the weaker snow tracks, and the reason why, it's just poorly made. I don't know, like the track layout isn't terrible, but the snowmen are really annoying, like when you hit them. Not really because they're blocking the way, just more because the way they affect you is just really weird. It doesn't really make sense for like a snowman. It's really just snow most of the track besides the Mario statue, and then the ending's kind of weird where there's nothing going on, but you have these huge walls. I don't know, it's a very weird track to me. It's in ways pretty for Mario Kart 64 standards, but I don't think there's anything outstanding, and for that, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Not that great. Alrighty, the third track for Mario Kart 64's Flower Cup is going to be Choco Mountain. Choco Mountain, another track that's pretty decent if I say so myself. I do like the brown color in this track, especially Mario Kart 8's. I don't know what it is with the booster course passes. It just looks like more like dirt. I kind of like how this one looks a little more like chocolate, even though this is technically, I know it's dirt. Choco Mountain's pretty decent. I really like the boulder part. I like all the hills, the under the bridge or under the little thingy. I don't even know what to call it. The part that to me that's pretty crazy that a lot of people don't like, but I actually think is really interesting, is the part where you can get hit by one of the boulders and fall off the side. And that pushes you really far back. Now, it does absolutely screw you up, and in ways it's really annoying, but in the moment it's kind of cool. Because it's like, you can really screw someone over just from doing that if you can hit someone correctly. So I think in ways that's pretty cool. Although I'm not a huge fan of this track, it is a decent track if I say so myself. So for it, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Another decent track, not great, not terrible, it just does the job. So yeah, 5 out of 10. Alrighty, and the final track in Mario Kart 64's Flower Cup is going to be Mario Raceway, and honestly, it's just a Mario circuit. That's really all there is. It's not a bad one, it's actually alright, but another track that's just not that exciting. I mean, there's the little grassy hill, there's the little pipe that you go under. That's really it. There's not much to it. It's a alright Mario circuit, even though it's Mario Raceway, not Mario Circuit that it's called. Overall, not too much about this track. I mean, it's not as bad as Frappe Snowland, but I'm not going to give it over Toad's Turnpike or Choco Mountain. So for it, I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10. Now, that concludes all of Mario Kart 64's tracks. And overall, I gave the total a 4.25 out of 10. Much lower drop compared to Mushroom Cups, but it kind of isn't really surprising when you look at it. I mean, all the tracks are very in the middle or maybe below average. Not anything too exciting compared to the Mushroom Cup. Nothing terrible, but nothing that great. So for it, I'm giving this one number 7. Now, let's go over what is number 6. Alrighty, coming in at number 6 is going to be Mario Kart Super Circuit. Now, Mario Kart Super Circuit, good for them. They bumped up a grade. They went from number 7 to number 6. But that's not going to make it much better. I will say, compared to the Mushroom Cup, it definitely did better. I wouldn't say way better, but better. But yeah, let's go over why this is number 6. Alright, so the first track we have for Mario Kart Super Circuit is going to be Mario Circuit. Another Mario Circuit. You're going to see a lot of them in this, trust me. Mario Circuit in this one, kind of boring, I'm not going to lie. Now, there is the remake in Mario Kart 8, and that kind of makes it a little cooler, but this one does not have that little remake, so the turn is just the turn. That's really it. There's not much to this track. A lot of the circuits in this track are kind of bad, if I say so myself. So for that, I'm giving this one a 2 out of 10. Very bland, but it's not a 1. It's not anything terrible. It's just very, very boring. So I'll give it a 2 out of 10. Alrighty, the next track we have for Mario Kart Super Circuit is going to be Boo Lake. Now, yes, another one that had a Mario Kart 8 remake, although it is the Booster Course Pass. I will say, when we talk about the remakes and the Booster Course Pass and why they're so good, it's because you look back at this game or other games, and you kind of see why. Mario Kart Super Circuit's Boo Lake is kind of boring, I'm not going to lie. Now, not as bad as Mario Circuit. There is some cool things about it. There's the huge jump boost, there's the sharp turns, there's the boos all over the place. It's got a Ghost Valley feeling, but a little bit better than Ghost Valleys in Super Mario Kart. Boo Lake is alright. Nothing too spectacular for it. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It's alright. It's got some cool things in it, but it's definitely not much better than the Ghost Valleys. Just a little bit above. So I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. Alrighty, and the third track we have for Mario Kart Super Circuit is going to be Cheeseland. Now, I will say, I did originally rate this really high. I don't know why. I kind of think I overhyped it a little bit until I played it. I went back and played it. It's definitely a really good track, however. I'm not going to go and deny that. This is a very good track. I actually like this Cheese Land a lot more than the remake because this actually looks like cheese. It looks like cheese. There's the mice walking around. You got the little boost coming around. You got the cheese all over the place. There's not a lot of crazy things happening in this track, but I think for what it is, and on Super Circuit, it's a really good track that was really needed. Cheese Land has a nice cheesy feeling, and I think for that, it makes it a much higher. And overall, I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. Might be a little high rated for some people, but for me and Mario's Kart Super Circuit, you gotta remember there's not a lot of tracks that make it spectacular. And this track definitely has the potential. It is a really good track. The music is very cheesy and nice as well. So yes, I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. Alright, and the final track in the Flower Cup for Mario Kart Super Circuit is going to be Bowser Castle 2. Now, I will say, a little bit of an upgrade compared to the first one. Now, not a crazy good Bowser Castle. There's a lot better Bowser Castles, but for what it is, and for the Bowser Castle series in Super Circuit, this is definitely a pretty good one, if I say so myself. Now, this one's main difference is just that it's more difficult, and it's got a lot more jump boost. Nothing too much better compared to the original. It's just that there's a lot more to it. It's a lot more difficult, and for that it makes it a lot more fun. So overall, not much to go over. It's a fun track though, so I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. Now that concludes Mario Kart Super Circuit's number 6 rating, and what did I give it? I gave it a 4.5 out of 10. Now, it's an upgrade compared to the 3.5 out of 10 that I gave it on the Mushroom Cup, but there are some tracks that kind of drop it down. Mario Super Circuit and Blue Lake aren't that great. Cheese Lane kind of saves this one to make it pretty much higher, and I think that's the big one that makes it have an advantage over the other two, especially Mario Kart 64. So for that, I'm keeping this at number 6. Now, let's go see what's at number 5.
Mario Kart 8!
Now, coming in at number 5 is going to be Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now, I know, it's kind of shocking that this one only made it at number 5. I'm going to actually tell you guys something, that I actually rated the Flower Cup on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe slightly higher than Mushroom Cup. The Mushroom Cup in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was actually number 3, and this is the number 5. So this isn't telling you guys how good the Flower Cup is compared to the Mushroom Cup. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I mean, an upgrade compared to the other 3 games, but there definitely is some better ones. So yeah, let's go over why this is number 5. Alrighty, the first track we have in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is Mario Circuit. Yes, another Mario Circuit. This one is kind of bland, not gonna lie. One of the weaker tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, to be honest with you. For this game to be what it is today, I mean, this is definitely weaker. Now, for other games, it might be pretty good, actually, but this one, not as good. This track's main theme is that it does 8 gravity, and it's the shape of an 8. Cool, but it doesn't really be a Mario Circuit. It's more just an 8 loop that goes also upside down. So, I mean, if you think that's cool, then sure, but there's not a lot to it. There's Piranha Plans, there's Goombas, there's things here and there, but overall, it's not that exciting of a track, and for that, I'm giving this a 3 out of 10. Alright, the next track we have is Toad Harbor. Now, I will say, I do like Toad Harbor if I say so myself. Toad Harbor, not a top track in the game, but a very underrated track if I say so myself. It's a nice, pretty track. This is what I feel like Mario Circuit should have been more like. Toad Harbor's got the harbor feeling of like being near water, kind of near an ocean. I really like the boat jump. I love the houses just giving that like near shore feeling. I love the little shortcuts, the little anti-gravity things on the side. My favorite part though is the downhill that you go down after you pass by the trains and that little side hill. And my reason to it, I don't know, the downslope is really fun. There's some boosts here and there, you gotta kind of reach them. If you're going in 200cc, it's especially fun because you're flinging in the air like crazy. You got trains going by, you have these houses to the side. You also have a little secondary direction to go to, so that's kind of cool. Overall, good track. Not one of the top tiers, but definitely a good track. And for that, I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. Pretty good if I say so myself. Alrighty, the next track we have in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Flower Cup is going to be Twisted Mansion. Where do I begin? I'm not going to lie, don't like this track that much. The outside does look pretty cool, but I'm going to say this right now, this is very heavily anti-gravity. And I get what they were trying to do with Twisted Mansion, but I'm not going to lie, I don't think it's up there. I think it's a very weak mansion track. I mean, especially when we compare it to Luigi's Mansion. It was very cool for what it is. You were going inside the mansion. It felt like a mansion. You're going to the outside. You're going down the steps, down the basement. This one doesn't really feel like a mansion. Now, yes, the front is technically a mansion, and I know you're going through like one building to another, and I do think that's cool, but it's just a bunch of tracks that look like hallways, I guess was their goal. I do like the hammers at the end. I do kind of like the beginning, but I don't like the water part. I don't really like the jumps because they're sideways in some ways. For that, I think it's pretty weak if I say so myself. I gave this one a 4 out of 10. I think it's one of the weaker tracks. I wouldn't say this is people's favorite track. I just don't think this is a strong contender of a track. So I gave it a 4 out of 10. Now, the final track for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Flower Cup is Shy Guy Falls. And now, let me tell you this, Shy Guy Falls is so good of a track. This is definitely the best track in the Flower Cup. It's definitely the best track we've went over so far. I love the falls feeling that you have here. This is what Yoshi Falls should have been more like. Now, I know you couldn't have done the anti-gravity type thing, but this actually feels like you're by the side of a mountain. Any moment you're about to fall into that water down there. What I love about this is you going around the water, then you go up the water, then you go down the water, and then you're gliding in the air into other track areas, and you have 2 directions to go by. You see the Shy Guys mining. I mean, there's so much stuff about this track that I really like. And I think theming wise, it's outstanding. And I think track layout wise, it's actually pretty good. And for it, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's a really strong contender of a track. It's not perfect. It's not the best track in this game, but a very good themed track. So I give it a 9 out of 10. Overall, pretty good cup if I say so myself. Some bad ones, but also some pretty good ones. So it's half and half here, and I give an equal score of 5.5 out of 10. Alright, compared to the 5.25 in the Mushroom Cup, but I think there were some weak ones here that kind of dropped it down, and I think that's the reason why it got number 5. So it's sticking at number 5. Let's get to number 4. Here we go! Now, coming in at number 4 is going to be Mario Kart DS. Mario Kart DS got a higher rating as well in the Flower Cup, and unlike Mario Kart Wii, it actually got ranked higher. I thought it was one of the weaker Mushroom Cups, but I do think that this one is on the top half of Flower Cups. There's some weak tracks, and then there's some pretty good tracks. And I'll show you guys why. Let's get into it. Now, the first track for the Flower Cup in Mario Kart DS is going to be Desert Hills. This is one of the downsides. In fact, I'd say this is one of the worst tracks as well. Now, I will say not as bad as Bowser Castle 2, but I mean, if we're talking about Mario Kart DS, this is probably one of the worst tracks in the game. Figure 8 Circuit probably is worse, but this is probably the second worst in my opinion. Desert Hills is incredibly boring. The music's outstandingly boring. I think the shifts and turns are very similar to the Dry Desert, but I think it's just a downgrade. There's no boost in this track, and that brings a huge problem because this track feels like it really relies on that. And the difference with Mario Kart Wii's and Mario Kart Double Dash's tracks is even though they're not great and they're alright, depending on which one you're talking about, the difference is they're made for their game. This one is not. And I think for that reason, it makes it really bad. So I gave this one a 1 out of 10. It's a bad track. Now, we go from an upgrade on the second track. This is going to be Delfino Square. Delfino Square, unlike Desert Hills, is outstanding for this game. I know there's tight turns in this track, and in some ways that doesn't make it super fun, especially in Mario Kart DS. But come on, this theming is so good, especially that you're putting it kind of close to Mario Sunshine. It's very reasonable why they made this. The music is one of the best music tracks in Mario Kart history. It's one of the best tracks in this game. Now, it isn't perfect. It's not top tier in looks, but I think theming wise is really up there. I think the music is outstanding. The track layout is beautiful. And for that, Delfino Square absolutely deserves a 9 out of 10. Not perfect. There is some tracks that are better, but outstanding track. I get very excited when I see this track, so I'm keeping it at a 9 out of 10. Now, the third track in the Flower Cup for Mario Kart DS is going to be Waluigi Pinball. Now, if we're going to talk about one of the GOATs in Mario Kart history, Waluigi Pinball might be that one. Waluigi Pinball is outstanding. I know there's some people there, here and there, that say that this track is overrated. You gotta understand that for a track that has the same layout for 3 laps, it's outstanding. I don't think people understand that some of the turns here and there, they don't understand why it's there, but it's for the pinball. You realize that in the beginning, there's no pinball because the pinball isn't set. So you're driving on a track layout that's ready for a pinball, but the pinball hasn't reached you until you get to that second lap. And that's when you start seeing the pinball on that track. The track is outstanding. The track is outstanding because when you get to there, you gotta then dodge the pinball. And it really takes you down. You have the shoot thing, you get the pull back and shoot like a normal pinball table, but this one just shoots you, so it's not exactly the same. I mean, you have the end where you're trying to avoid all the pinballs coming around you. It's really good. It's one of my favorite music tracks of all time. It's one of my favorite tracks of all time. I think it's beautiful looking when it comes to the Mario Kart DS. And I don't think there's any argument that this isn't one of the greatest tracks of all time. This was made with love and care. And because of that, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I mean, this is the first 10 out of 10 I believe I gave for any track so far in my first 2 videos. But Waluigi Pinball is one of the GOATs. It's one of the greatest of all time. Alright, sorry guys, I went on a little rant there on Waluigi Pinball. Let's get back to reality. The final track we have for the Mario Kart DS's Flower Cup is going to be Shroom Ridge. Now this track, I will say myself, is actually a pretty decent traffic track. Now I've said that there's some bad traffic tracks here and there, but I actually think Shroom Ridge, over the time, is a pretty decent one. I love the hill theme of like, you're kind of going around these higher hills and it's very easy to fall off while you have the vehicles coming towards and away from you. I think it's really good. I don't think it's outstanding. I think it's a very decent track. I mean, the layout otherwise isn't amazing. I love the area near the cliff, but the areas not near the cliff aren't as fun, especially the one area with a huge patchy grass that you go straight in. It's not that cool. Decent track overall though. Overall am going to give this one a 5 out of 10. There's some cool things about this track. I think it's a very decent track, middle of the pack, but it's definitely not perfect. I'm not going to go and love and go crazy when I see this track, but I will be ready to play this track and I will definitely not be disappointed. Now that ranks all the tracks for the Flower Cup. I will say that Desert Hills definitely drops this rating because this rating is a 6.25 out of 10. I think if Desert Hills wasn't in here, this would definitely be one of the best, but because of it, it definitely drops it down. Plus, Shroom Ridge was kind of middle of the pack, but Delfino Square and Waluigi Pinball make this a really high rating, and I think that's the reason why Mario Kart DS is in the number 4 position. It made the top half this time. But let's get to number 3. Alrighty, coming in at number 3 is going to be Mario Kart Double Dash, and I will say another one that had a upgrade compared to his mushroom version. I do really like this cup a lot. It's kind of unfortunate that this wasn't the number 1. It's really good, but there's some reasons why it's not number 1. Let's go over why this is number 3, however, and why it's one of the better ones. Okay, so the first track we have is Mushroom Bridge, and I will say myself, this is a pretty good track. Another traffic track. This one I think is one of the cooler ones though because of the bridge itself. Now the bridge has a little cool, I don't even know if it's considered a shortcut. It's just really cool because you can kind of ramp off the side of the bridge, and it's extremely cool if you can really stay up for a long time. There's also some little areas on the side that you can go on that many people don't really know about, but I think it's pretty cool. Now the main part about this track is just mainly the traffic, but I think what makes it really good about this game is the Mario Kart Double Dash is like theming. There's a lot of stuff happening at once. There's all these items. There's mushroom carts where they can shoot out mushrooms, and then there's also bomb carts that just make you explode. It's just like a bomb. I think it's really cool overall. Not one of the best in the world, but I think it's pretty good. And for that, I want to give it a 6 out of 10. A good traffic track, but not a perfect traffic track. Alright, the second track we have for Mario Kart Double Dash is going to be Mario Circuit. Not going to lie, pretty bland Mario Circuit if I say so myself. It's definitely one of the worst tracks in Mario Kart Double Dash, and it definitely lowers things down because of it. It's cool, it does its thing. I mean, there's piranha plants, there's the Goombas, there's the Chain Chomp, and it's cool and all. There's the castle. It's just kind of basic though. That's really it. There's not much more to say about it. It's got its items there, it's got its problems, but I just think it's kind of bland. And because of it, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. There's not really much to say about this track. It's just kind of boring. Alright, the next track we have for Mario Kart Double Dash is going to be Daisy Cruiser. Daisy Cruiser is an outstanding track, and my reason to it is the cruise ship theme. It's probably one of the coolest themes in Mario Kart history. Daisy Cruiser is really cool because of its cruiser theme to it and how it found a way to build a track on a freaking cruiser ship. I don't know how they just found the room to make it work, but it worked outstanding. You have the pool at the top, you have the dining area downstairs, you have the hallway that also is a boiler room if you go down underground. And I have said this a million times, it makes a lot more sense than the underwater one they have in the new versions. And then you go around the front of the cruiser ship and go up these stairs back to the beginning. It's a really cool track. It's a really cool theme. It's got really nice, calming music. And for that, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Alright, and the final track for Mario Kart Double Dash's Flower Cup is going to be Waluigi Stadium. One of my favorite stadium dirt track tracks of all time. Waluigi Stadium does the job. Now, no, it's not Waluigi Pinball. It's not perfect, but it's really, really good. I love the dirt track theme of this track. And although on the map it doesn't show it like it's a crazy track, it's a crazy track. You have a lot of boost ramps that go around fireballs. You have items galore. You have the fake piranha plants you have to dodge, weave and duck in left and right. You have the bumpy roads all around. And obviously you have the final jump that you have to make. And it can absolutely screw you if you get hit by an item in the worst moment possible. It's a really good track. It does a lot better than most dirt tracks. One of the best though. It's a very above average track. It's a very great track. And for it, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Now, overall, I will say that this is a pretty good cup if I say so myself. I think the first half is not as great as the second half. The second half really shows off. Mushroom Bridge is still pretty good. Mario Circuit definitely is not there. And Daisy Cruiser Waluigi Stadium are outstanding. So overall, I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. This actually is a higher rating than number 1 in the Mushroom Cup. So if you're curious, yes, there's 3 cups that are higher than Mushroom Cup's number 1. It's actually 4th place is tied with 1st place, if you guys were wondering, with a 6.25 out of 10. Because of it, it's going to be number 3 in the Flower Cup. Would have been number 1 if it was a Mushroom Cup, but unfortunately it's not. So it sticks at number 3. Alrighty, coming in at number 2 is going to be Mario Kart Wii. Mario Kart Wii, once again, another upgrade compared to its original version. It's pretty good if I say so myself. There's some bad ones there, but there's also some really good ones as well. Kind of similar to Mario Kart DS. Also kind of similar to Mario Kart Double Dash. So let's get into them and see why this is number 2. Okay, so the first track we have is Mario Circuit. This is definitely a really boring Mario Circuit as well. I won't say it's terrible. It's not bad. I mean, there's the cool boost and all that does that. I mean, there's Goombas, there's Chain Chomp. But honestly, this one's also pretty boring. It's not really memorable. I think it's very bland. Not much to say here. So overall, I'm going to give this Mario Circuit a 3 out of 10. There's just not much to say about it. Mario Circuits are kind of boring, and this is definitely not one of the better ones. So a 3 out of 10 it will be. Alright, the next track we have is Coconut Mall. Now we went from one of the worst tracks in that game to one of the best tracks in this game. Coconut Mall is my personal favorite track in this game. Also, I would also say it's one of the GOATs. I wouldn't say it's number 1 of all time, but out of all the Coconut Mall versions, this is by far the best one. First off, the escalator stairs look like escalator stairs. The mall actually looks like a mall. It's not as clean as the Mario Kart 8 remake, but it definitely is the original and definitely is the better version. The shortcut is really good in this version. The ramp, if you decide not to take it. The cars in this version are definitely the best. I love still the Miis. It was the primetime Mii characters. You got the best ones in there, and they're trying to run you over. It's really cool. I just love this theme of the mall, as well as the music in this. The music is pretty good. I think it's pretty crazy how good the music is, because it's like a pretty crazy song, like, oh, you're panicking, you gotta rush to the mall. So overall, I am gonna give this one a 10 out of 10. I know I went over a lot in this, but it's because it's one of the GOATs. It's a 10 out of 10. Yes, it's not the best one, but I think it is definitely a 10 out of 10, and it's definitely worth it. Alrighty, and the next track that's going to be on Mario Kart Wii's Flower Cup is DK Summit. DK Summit is a really good track. Although not my favorite DK track of all time, it's definitely a really cool track. In fact, one of my favorite snow tracks. I love this track. It kind of has a DK Mountain theme to it. Now, I really love DK Mountain. I'm not going to say this one is as good, but I love the half pipes that they have all over this track. It makes it really good. The shortcuts are insane. I love the little boost ramps that you have on the snow. I love the Shy Guy guys that try to take you down. Little shortcut or the sharp turn, depending on which one you take. The cannon to get to the top of the mountain. It's just really cool overall. And it's a very fun track. A very memorable track for Mario Kart Wii. And it's one that can't really be beaten. So overall, I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. I think it's pretty good, but it's definitely not perfect. It's not one of the best in the world, but it's definitely one of the top ones in Mario Kart Wii, and I think it's really fun. So I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. Alrighty, and the final track in the Flower Cup from Mario Kart Wii is Wario's Gold Mine. There's some people that have some opinions about this. I am not personally a big fan of this track, and I'm going to be completely honest with that. Wario has some really good tracks, but overall, this is to me one of the weaker ones. Now, yes, the theming is pretty cool. I like the Gold Mine theming. It's pretty Wario, if you ask me. I get why they did the theming, and I'm not against the theming. It's more of the track layout itself. It's just incredibly bad. I know they're trying to do this, like, train track layout, but it is so easy to fall on this track, and I know that could be considered a skill issue, but it's really bad on this version. If you are a light character on this track, you are absolutely screwed. It's really hard on this game because this game relies heavily on tilt controls, unless if you got one of your own like personal controllers to like work with it, or one of those extra Wii controllers. It's not even really just the track itself, it's the fact that it's on the Wii. I don't think it fits the Wii. I think it's honestly the worst game that this could have gone on. If this was any other game, I think it would have made more sense, but I think for it, that's why I lowered it down, so I gave it a 5 out of 10. It's middle of the pack, it's still a good track, And I love Mario Kart 8's remake, don't get me wrong, but I think it came on the wrong game, and I think that's why I lower it so much. Overall, the Flower Cup is pretty good on Mario Kart Wii. Overall, the rating I gave for this is a 6.5 out of 10 as well. Now you're wondering, why did I give this one over? My reason is just the better tracks. I think this one has better tracks. Daisy Cruiser is really good, and so is Waluigi Stadium, but I think Coconut Mall takes both of them down, plus DK Summit on the side. So because of it, I am going to stick with this one above. I'd rather take the 2 hits. Plus the Warriors Gold Mine rating is definitely more of a I can move it up if I really had to. So either way, I would put this one over. There's more likely the chance I'd move a rating from this one than I would on Double Dash. Now I know I just missed number 1. You guys are probably, what the hell is number 1? Well, here it is.
Mario Kart 7!
Now coming at number 1 is Mario Kart 7. I know some people are going to be really disappointed that Mario Kart Wii once again lost. Trust me when I say this, I have a good reason why I put this at number 1. This cup is really good, and I'm not gonna lie, it's got some really good tracks, and I feel like people forget how good these tracks really are. I know Mario Kart 7 isn't one of the best in the world, and I think there's some really good ones. The Flower Cup to me really consists of really good tracks, but also a mix of pretty mid or bad tracks. And to me, the reason why this one wasn't as bad was because, honestly, there wasn't a really bad track on this cup. And I think that's the reason why I give it number 1. Well, let's go over why this is number 1. Well, starting off with the first track is an absolute banger, Woohoo Loop. First off, this track does not actually have 3 laps. Well, it does have 3 laps, but the thing about this track that makes it really cool is it's 3 different laps. This is Woohoo Loop. If you don't know, this comes from Wii Sports Resorts. It's really cool, and it's kind of cool to see the view and replay the Wii Sports Resort theming of this. I think the track layout is really cool too, because you're doing one whole track instead of 3 laps, and I do really like that myself. I will say it's not perfect, don't get me wrong. I think there's some lackluster things about this track, but I think it's reasonable why there isn't. So for that, I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. Really good track though. Alrighty, the next track we have is Mario Circuit. Now I know you're thinking, oh, this is a really bad track, right? Actually not. This is not a terrible track. One of the reasons why this became number 1 is because of Mario Circuit. Mario Circuit normally would be a 3 out of 10 if we're talking about any other game, but in this one, it's actually my favorite Mario Circuit. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not an outstanding track, it's not a great track, but it does its job. It's Mario Circuit. The really cool thing about this track is that you can go inside the castle. It's really cool, and that is like the main theme of it. Around it is really beautiful trees around it. I don't know, the aesthetic of this track is really nice, and I don't hate it at all. And I know the inside of the castle isn't amazing, but I mean, what other game do you go inside the freaking castle? None. There's a glider part, there's the pipe area, which is much better than Mario Raceway's version. There's just a lot about this track that's pretty decent, and I think overall it deserves a decent rating. So I give it a 5 out of 10. I think it's a decent track, not perfect, but it does its job. Now, the next track we have on Mario Kart 7's Flower Cup is Music Park. Now, I know some people won't agree with me on this rating. I might be overrating it a little bit, but oh my goodness, I love this track a lot. And it's really cool, kind of similar to Coconut Mall, how it really goes into one theme and works out really well. This track's theme is heavily relying on instruments and how the music works, and I think they did it really well. You got the piano you go down, you have the horns coming out. I think they're trombone horns or like trumpet horns. I could be wrong. I apologize. And then you got the xylophone you go around. You drift around that. Then you glide in the air and go past these big music notes that are jumping in the air. And if you actually land the same time as these music notes, you get a little boost in the air. It's really cool, and it kind of bounces you up in the air, and I really like that. I love the coloring of this track. I love the theming of this track. And yes, I know the track layout isn't perfect, but this is another one where I think the theming really stands out, and it makes it really fun. The music is one of my favorite songs in Mario Kart history, and for that, I'm giving this one a 10 out of 10. I know some people might not agree, but come on, this is a really good track, and I think it deserves it. Alrighty, and the final track we have is Rock Mountain. I will say this one's another one that's pretty decent. Not outstanding, another one that's just pretty decent. But once again, this one does enough to not make it super low, which is why this is number 1. Rock Mountain's really big theme is obviously you're on a mountain and you're driving around this high, huge mountain. On the side of it, this feels like you're going to fall like 1,000 feet in the air. I love the glider ramp that you go really, really high in the air. I think it's a little too much height, which I think drops it down a little bit. I think the aesthetic, though, does look really nice, if I say so myself. The gliding is pretty decent. My favorite part, though, is when you go up the hill and you have boulders coming down at you, and you got to get past these boost ramps without getting hit by the boulders. I really like that. I think it's incredibly cool, and for that, I will say I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. I think it's pretty decent, but I think there's just not enough for this track to make it much higher than a 5 out of 10. Average track itself, pretty decent. Overall, for number 1 Flower Cup, Mario Kart 7 does its job, and I gave this one a 7 out of 10. That's the first time we've ever got a 7 as a rating. We probably might get a 7 again, I don't know, but Mario Kart 7 to me deserves it. My main reason why, once again, that Mario Kart 7 is number 1 is because the tracks that aren't as good aren't as bad rated as the other ones, such as Mario Kart Double Dash or Mario Kart Wii. And for that reason, I gave it the 7 out of 10. I gave it number 1, and I'm not going to change it. I think it deserves to be here. So, we're sticking this one at number 1. Alrighty guys, and that is the end of the ranking video. I know, more surprises again. There's some Mario Kart Wii fans that are probably upset again that I put another one at number 2. Listen guys, this is my opinion. I'm not going to be biased. I'm not going to pick the game I started off with. I got to go with what I think. And that is what I think. So, yes, Mario Kart Wii got second again. Maybe next time. Maybe on the Star Cup I get first. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate everyone that was watching. Once again, guys, if you haven't already, and you did really enjoy this video, make sure to subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Thank you for everyone that has already. And once again, comment down below. Love to see the comments. Love to see what you guys were thinking. Do you think it was a good rating? Good, bad rating? Want to see. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. I'm out of here. Have a great day, and goodbye.